Welcome to Decoding the New Economy. Today I'm joined by Charles O'Rear, a photographer and a man of many talents, including doing the Windows XP desktop picture, which is one of your claims to fame, and it's a pleasure to meet you today.
Thank you. Well, nice to be here.
To first of all kick off, you've had a fairly long career. You've gone from press photography through National Geographic to wine photography. What's the journey?
You've been doing good research.
Oh, thank you.
What was your question?
So about your background, how did you
How did I get started?
Yeah,
I started as in a small newspaper in the United States, and then moved myself up, and there was some college along the way. In my 20s was with newspapers, and then National Geographic came into my life.
Right.
Thank you. And 25 years working for them.
Yeah.
I was able to see a lot of the world, and one of the jobs that National Geographic gave me was to go to a little wine country region out in California called Napa Valley.
Right.
And in the late 70s, few people had heard of Napa Valley. In fact, even the president of National Geographic, when he heard about Napa Valley, he said, "Where is that?"
Yes.
So we had to fill them in. We had to teach everybody along the way.
Yeah.
So I was sent there in 1978 to make the story for the magazine. As a result of that, I realized this is a pretty nice place.
Right.
Food was okay at the time. Now it's incredible. Wine was okay. Now it's incredible.
Yeah.
The scenery was great then, and it's great today.
Okay.
So as a result of that, Paul, I found that the scenery around me in Napa Valley was a big part of my visual life. What I look at, what I see, what I experience every day. And that is how Bliss happened. Bliss happened because going from this little Napa Valley to San Francisco was about a 50-mile drive on a beautiful little winding road. On that winding road are some rolling hills. And on those rolling hills, in a period of our winter, midwinter, January, for us, there'd be a period of like a week, maximum 2 weeks, when we get green, brilliant green grasses, followed by or along with a storm that comes through that clears the air, and now we get some white clouds. We get all the elements.
Yeah.
You can't predict. You can't predict if that. I'm going to say, well, at 3 o'clock I'm going to go take that photograph. Well, at 3 o'clock it could be miserable weather.
Right.
So there's a lot of serendipity involved. Serendipity is the result of what? A lot of hard work to try to be in the right place or anticipate. So almost every Friday, I would be driving these 50 miles from Napa Valley to a city near San Francisco where my future wife lived. And so I always had a camera with me.
Sure.
In those days, the cameras were bigger than they are today. Driving the 50 miles, and there's one particular region in the southern part of Napa Valley called the Carneros, where we have mostly the Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes because it's cooler. It's influenced by San Francisco Bay, which has little to do with the scenery, but it just is coincidence that those kind of grapes, which are the favorite grapes, are in the same area. So now I'm going through this winding, beautiful little, not exactly a country lane, it was a little bit bigger.
Right.
And by golly, here is one of the scenes. I've driven by it 100 times before. But now, we've just had a storm go through, we have some white clouds, and the grass is brilliant. Because probably a week before, the grass wasn't that big, it was barely green. And a week later, it's going to be that tall and not as brilliant.
Right.
I'm going to get out, I'm going to make a few frames, we call it, a few photographs, get back in the truck, and keep on going. Then the photographs, at that time, my photography was going into a photo library, a stock photo library.
Yes.
Those photographs I took that day went into that stock photo library. The coincidence at that point was that stock photo library that I was participating in, or I had a contract with, happened to be owned by Bill Gates.
This was Corbis.
It's a Corbis.
Yeah.
They had just bought a stock photo agency that I co-owned with somebody else.
Okay.
Just about that same time.
Right.
So now this series of photographs are being digitized. Well, now, 1998, we barely heard. What do you mean digitized?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Oh, you're going to scan it and it's going to be electronic. Well, where's that? What's that mean? Where's it going to go?
Sure.
Digitized, went into the big archive, and the archive didn't have that many photographs at the time. Now, fast forward a few years, the engineers at Microsoft are preparing Windows XP. We've got to find an image to go on there. So let's go to this archive and let's look around. There are several archives at that point, but we're only going to look at Corbis. I think my guess is pretty good.
Right.
If I were an engineer there, I would only go to Corbis. Right? Why not?
Yeah.
So in looking at Corbis, I'm going to guess, did they bring up 10 possibilities? Did they bring up 100, 500? Why did they pick mine? I think we all look at that and go, we feel peaceful, we feel bliss. What a great word, huh?
Yep.
There's no tension in this photograph. Did I feel tension when I took that photograph? I don't think so.
Right.
Excuse me, I lied. I did. Here's why. Because where I had to pull off to make that picture is a dangerous place.
Sure.
So I probably felt, oh my God, am I going to get hit parked here while I get out to make this photograph? That's the only tension I felt.
Right.
And I knew it was a beautiful scene. Did I know it was going to go where it went? No, had no idea. Did I know that this was going to be maybe the most recognized photograph in the world? No, I didn't. Could I anticipate anything? No. True of the 25 years at National Geographic, just when I thought I made a great photograph, that was a wake-up call, because nobody else cared.
Right.
Only I cared.
Yeah.
Because I really felt good the moment I took that photograph. The light was good, and oh gosh, I just had a wonderful lunch, and maybe I'd had a glass of wine. I made that photograph. That's a great photograph, and nobody cared.
Right.
So I never know when a photographer comes to me and says, I just made the best photograph I've ever made in my life. Okay, fine. Tell me something else.
Right.
Let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
So that is what got Bliss to happen. That's how the whole thing happened. A few years after XP came out, an email came from the engineers at Microsoft. Where did you make that photograph? We have a bet going on among us that it was photoshopped.
Right.
A few of them thought, no, we think it was taken here in the state of Washington, not too far from Microsoft headquarters. Tell us, tell us about that picture. I wrote back and I said, sorry guys, you're all wrong. I said, it's the real deal. It's right near where I live, and I'm going to put a big gate up, because when everybody sees it, they're all going to want to come here.
Yes.
Because it is such a special spot.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, Paul, they sent me 100 8x10s of this image and said, please sign every one of them for the engineers.
Yeah.
My thought was, there was only 100 engineers that worked on that. I don't know, maybe these are the guys that worked on the ones who decided to photograph.
Right.
Anyway, so now it's still out there, and we can then wonder, well, how long is it going to be around? Because the new platform is happening. What's happened with this scene? It has changed. It has evolved. It became a vineyard a few years later.
Right.
So like a lot of things in our life, things are moving forward. New platforms, new systems, everything's getting better. But this one is locked in. It can't get any better than that.
Sure. Yeah.
I think this picture will be around forever in the minds of people who see it. Now I'm in high school. You pick it anywhere on this planet, and it was on my screen. I'm in India. I'm in France. I don't care.
Absolutely.
I saw that while I was growing up.
Yeah.
And now I'm 50 years old. 50 years from now, yeah, I remember that photograph.
It really immortalises it.
That's
Later you evolved into taking wine photographs. I'd never realised wine photography was such a big field.
Well, when you say wine photography, Paul, is that a picture of a wine glass? Is that a picture of a bottle of wine? Not really. It's about the environment. Now, does wine grow in beautiful places, or do beautiful places grow wine? You sort of look at it the same way, and you think about that. Think about the wine regions in Australia, the Hunter Valley, the Barossa. Those are beautiful places.
Yeah.
And just by coincidence, they happen to make really great wine.
Right.
Now, could you grow grapes and make wine in the outback? I doubt it. It's a beautiful place, but a different kind of beauty.
Sure.
So the same thing with the wine country where we live. Everything is like rolling hills like this, and we have a depth to everything we look at. We have colors, we have design, we have shapes, colors. We have everything a photographer would want.
Yes.
So I could almost look out my front door and make a really good photograph. I'd have to work hard in Napa Valley to make a bad photograph.
Okay. Yeah.
Just as I say to the winery owners I know, here in Napa Valley, you'd have to work hard to make a bad wine. I'd have to work hard to make a bad photograph because there's so much of it available.
Sure.
Now, could I just take my smartphone and make the same thing? Depends on the time of day. Or I could take the same thing, put it in Photoshop, and I can do like this. I can twirl those dials and look out.
Yeah.
You won't believe what we could come up with. So where is the honesty? Where's that line drawn between purity and where we have manipulated? And that wine is getting fuzzier all the time.
Right.
And as time goes forward, it's going to be more difficult to determine which one was manipulated and which is the real deal. Well, we're looking at the real deal here.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Nothing was changed. Microsoft changed nothing in there. They cropped it a little bit, is all.
Yeah, but you would have seen a great change in that post-production side of things over the years too, I imagine.
I have seen the changes in that the kinds of photography that the public wants to see or the public wants to buy or thinks that they need, whether it's National Geographic, whether it's your local newspaper, whatever it is, those kinds of images are changing, and I think it has everything to do with the digital world.
Right.
I now spend a lot of my time on my computer. I spend it on my tablet. I spend it on my smartphone. I am used to bright colors. I'm used to motion. I'm used to sound. My newspaper doesn't give me that.
Right.
My magazine barely gives me that. So I now am going to expect all of these things to happen in everything I look at visually. Now, where does that take us in 5 or 10 years? I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I thought you could tell me.
Oh, I'm just as baffled as you are with it.
Well, have a glass of wine and think about it.
Yeah. So what would be your advice to somebody young coming into the industry wanting to be a photographer? Where would you say that they should start?
To get another job. Now, easier said than done.
Yeah.
Video. Yes, you like using a camera, you're in college now, and you love taking all these still pictures. You don't have to go into a darkroom anymore.
Yeah.
So it's getting really easy in that regard. And you learn Photoshop, and I can make any picture look beautiful on my computer. Well, what does that mean? Do I want to earn a living doing this? And do I want to be a staff photographer on a newspaper? No, I better learn video.
Right.
I better learn sound. I better learn all the things that go with that, because that's going to be with us for a long time.
Yes.
We'll always have video. We'll always have sound. And so, how can I take my passion and a love for photography, still photography, but let's move it into the next level. Yeah, have your fun with still photography. I mean, after all, we can shoot video and click, we can still frame it.
Yes.
And I can pull out the one frame I like because the quality of video is so good now.
Yeah.
So I don't need to go out and go click one picture and click another picture. I can just run the video, and that's only going to get better and better.
Yeah. Well, Charles, thank you very much for your time today, and thanks for joining Decoding the New Economy.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining Decoding the New Economy.